All right. I believe that we are live. How is everybody doing today? It is Friday afternoon. It is actually absolutely beautiful here in Erie, Pennsylvania. That makes me really happy because normally the weather here is absolutely garbage in the winter. So, anytime it's a really nice day, that actually kind of puts me into like my social mood and everything. And I kind of want to actually talk to people. So, I figured I didn't have a video planned for today. Let's just go ahead and do a live stream. I've actually been getting a lot of questions and a lot of comments recently, and in my videos, I've been having people like messaging me constantly with AMP questions, which I think it's kind of because I've been a little bit more active again on my social media accounts. Obviously, I've been posting more stuff on the YouTube channel and everything, so I feel like people are kind of feeling a little bit more comfortable for reaching out to me. So, for those of you who, respected my space while I was taking a little bit of a break from the channel, man, like seriously, thank you. You guys are awesome. I very, very much appreciate those of you who did that. That was a horrible way to end that sentence, but anyways, English is not my strong point. So, how's everybody doing today? How is everybody's Friday going? What questions do you guys have for me? I am really curious to see if I can help you guys out or answer your questions in any way that will further your gear knowledge, at least to the best of my ability, because I'm definitely not the most knowledgeable person when it comes to certain things. So, yeah, who do we got? We got Collecting Tengu from Germany. Guten Tag. Late for work, dude. That's the story of my life. I have never been on time for a stream. So yeah, howdy from Texas. Somebody said I only play on PC nowadays. I honestly don't know what you're talking about, man. Care to elaborate? Um, we got Resington in here. What's up, Resington? Howdy from Texas. And yes, Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza. You guys remember that band? Holy hell. Yeah, we got 50 people in here already. Awesome. Yeah, if you guys could do the YouTube thing, hit the like button. I would really appreciate it because then that puts this stream and this video in front of more people and just kind of makes it better for me. So I very much appreciate that. On Sims, like The Sims, like the computer game, I used to love playing The Sims, bro. I'm pretty sure that's not what you're talking about, but now I want to talk about playing The Sims. Um, John Brown, other John Brown. What's up, dude? Everybody go subscribe to both John Brown and Resington's channels. Both of those guys have awesome, awesome content. Resington does a really great job with all of the plugin stuff, and other John Brown is really getting into the speaker stuff, very nerdy style. So very much appreciate both of those guys for hanging out as they always do. Looks like we're getting some questions already, so I'm definitely going to jump in and start answering some questions here in just a second. One thing that I do want to let you guys know about, I am actually going to be listing a whole bunch of gear this weekend. I'm going to be putting it up on my Instagram pages and in my Facebook group. I'm trying to basically get rid of a lot of stuff that has been sitting around for a while. Some stuff I wasn't originally planning on selling. There are a couple reasons for that. Number one, I smashed the screen on my phone, and it's very expensive to replace. So I've been kind of trying to just get by with a smashed screen for right now, mainly because I'm very cheap, I guess. But if I sell a couple pieces of gear, that'll help ease the pain of like a $400 screen replacement. Wasn't planning on replacing my phone anytime soon, so that's not really an option. But more importantly, I really would like to get a wizard on the channel finally. I think I finally am kind of in that spot where I would like to be able to fund a wizard. People have been telling me left and right, dude, you need to get a wizard on the channel. I want a Wizard Modern Classic 2 really, really badly. I'm very much not really willing to pay the prices that they normally go for, but I kind of figured if I let some gear go that has been hanging around and I just haven't been using, we can invest it in a wizard and I can finally do some stuff with a wizard on the channel. So, with that being said, if you guys would like to help make that little dream and channel goal come true for me, keep an eye on my Instagram account. I'll actually be listing it in the YouTube community section as well, but there's going to be a bunch of pedals, bunch of guitars, bunch of amplifiers and stuff. So trying to clear some stuff out of here. There is I just remembered there's a gentleman who purchased a pair of V30s off me back in December, and one of them showed up damaged, and I keep forgetting to send him another one. So yeah, if that is you, it was somebody who watches the channel. I'm very, very sorry. Scatterbrained, trying to get everything back on track. Please send me another message in the email chain that we have already been going back and forth on, and I will get that speaker out to you next week. But yeah, thanks a lot to UPS for damaging stuff. So I just wanted to get that out there. Yeah, if you guys feel inclined to purchase anything and help the channel out in that way, everything that I sell, I invest back into the channel. So yeah, that it helps a lot when you guys buy the gear off of me that I post up for sale. Helps move the channel forward and gets the stuff on here that you guys want to see. So with all that said, let's jump into some of these questions. We already got a bunch coming through. So Brandon Whitehawk asks, Kyle, best version of the Bogner Uber Ultra. I'm kind of drawn toward the KT88 for extra headroom. Your thoughts? The KT88 is the only one that I have tried, so unfortunately I can't answer that question for you. I will say the KT88 one does sound awesome. One thing about Bogner's amplifiers is usually when he has a different tube type in the amplifiers, the amp itself is kind of built differently around that tube type. So case in point, I just got a Bogner Ecstasy 101B for British, and I also have a 101A, and that's for American, and they sound very different from each other. Like, you can tell they're definitely in the same family of amps, but they sound quite different. So I'm assuming that that is going to be the case for the EL34 6L6 and KT88 Uber Ultra models. I'm assuming that they will have slight tweaks to go along with those tube changes. Generally, from what Bogner, I've actually had the pleasure of chatting with Reinhold on the phone a couple times recently. He told me his American series amps are generally like a little looser, a little bit more low mid heavy, and it's not just the tubes. There are some circuit changes to accommodate that. The B versions, the British versions, are a little bit grindier. They are a little bit more like, you know, Marshall-y, for lack of a better word. So keep those things in mind when you go to buy one. If you have a preference towards Marshall style amps or American, like say Boogies or PV style amps, I would say, you know, get the tube that kind of goes along with those particular amplifiers that you like, because that's probably going to fit your style a little bit more. Next question. Do I own an Angle Fireball? My new amp gas would love to see a vid. Yep, it's sitting literally right here, right behind me. So yes, I do own a Fireball, and I have a video on the Fireball 25 versus the Fireball 100. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and search through my content. It is on there. Dara Silvano says, hey Kyle, hi from Germany. What is your current favorite amp, and what is your opinion on approaching mixing with blending different amps and speakers according to the parts? I can't speak too much from the mixing standpoint just because I don't have a lot of experience mixing and recording. See if I can get this mic a little closer. It seems like things are a little bit quiet. Maybe this will help. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that should be better. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah. So from the mixing standpoint, not a lot that I can add. I think it usually is good to either mix amps or speakers in order to get a fuller recorded sound and get closer to the sound that you want. But a lot of that is going to lie in the mix and the layering of everything too. So can't really say too much about that. My favorite amp currently? That's a good question, man. That is a good question. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to do a video on my 5 favorite amps sometime here very soon. I mean, the 6505 and 5150, those are always at the top of things. So 55 or 6505, 5150s, those are you can generally count those as my favorite amplifiers. If you're talking about like recency bias and what I've been playing a lot, I've been playing both my, well, you can't see them, my Ecstasy 101B a lot that I just got repaired, and a Bogner Helios Eclipse that I just started playing again for the first time in a while. Really been enjoying the way that those sound. So currently those are my favorite, I guess, just because I've been playing them a lot. But 5150, always going to be top of the list for me. All right, questions. Stay Curious says, are G12 T75 speakers considered the worst sounding? I have those in my cab. No, not at all. A lot of people don't like G12 T75s from a like more modern metal standpoint because they're scooped out sounding, they're a little buzzy, and they're kind of loose on the low end. So that's like the opposite of what most modern metal people are going for. But they're definitely not the worst. And in fact, I like G12 T75s with Marshall amps more than I like V30s and stuff. So it's really going to be situationally dependent. Resington asks, getting a custom Sloan soon. That amp was something special. I will be, but that video actually kind of like blew things up for Steven. He ended up having to open a wait list that's like 20 amps deep that he was taking deposits on. And from what I know, he wasn't really selling all that many amps prior to the video. And that kind of like boosted his sales massively, which actually makes me really happy to be able to help somebody out like that. And his amp definitely deserves it. So I'm going to let him get caught up with his customers and stuff like that. But more than likely, you'll see both of his amps, the Antares and the Arcturus. Not sure how you pronounce either of them. I'll get that information from him when I talk to him again, but I'm sure I'll have both of those amps in my collection by the end of the year once he gets his build queue sorted out. So, Naked Bike Mike says, hello, have you tried the Friedman IRX preamp? Yes, I have. I have a whole video on it. So go ahead and search the channel and you will find that. IRX preamp is very, very good. Very good piece of gear. Somebody said, who am I rooting for in the Super Bowl? I don't even know who's playing in the Super Bowl. So I think it's the Chiefs and someone else. But yeah, that should tell you that I don't really follow football that closely. I do like football. I just don't have time to keep up with it. I put my attention to other things. Where are we going? Shane Monroe says, you have the choice of a Boss Katana artist, a Rev G20, or an H&K Black Spirit. What do I do? Easy one for me, man. G20. G20 all the way. The reason it's easy is because I have one and I know what they sound like and I know what they're capable of. So Boss Katana artist, never played one. H&K Black Spirit 200, never played one. So that's why I'm choosing the G20, because I know it and I know it's a good amplifier. So Derek Damager says, hey man, do you happen to have any spare foot switches that you could sell me? I'll DM you via Instagram for the specific one I'm trying to track down. It's a good possibility that I do. So yeah, shoot me a message. Zachary Anderson, hey Kyle, what's a good bass amp? There are all sorts of good bass amps. The SVT Classic is kind of like the hardcore and punk rock bass amp, but they're very heavy. They're 300 watts all tube. They're very expensive. So a more modern solution to that would be something like the Omega stuff. They've got the Microtubes amp, which I would highly suggest either the 500 or the 900. If you want to hear the Microtubes 900, again, search my channel. I made a video on it. If you guys would like to see more bass gear too, let me know in the comments here, because I really, really love bass and bass tones, but I made those couple of videos and they did okay. They did all right. But if you guys would like to see more stuff about bass, let me know, because I'd love to dive more into it. Adam Schaefer says, hey Kyle, I know this is mostly a guitar channel, but I've seen some really awesome bass heads in the background of your videos. So yeah, more bass stuff. I love that. I would love to do more bass stuff. So you guys just got to let me know. Is there a call for it? Do you guys want to see more bass stuff? Riverstone says, hey Kyle, if you had to pick between BE100 or SLO, which one? SLO 100 for me all the way. SLO 100 is an amp that I absolutely love. Not that I don't like the BE. The BE 100 Deluxe is actually, I think, Friedman's best amp. I really would like to own one for myself. So no shade on Friedman whatsoever. I like the Friedman stuff a lot, but the SLO is just a little bit more my speed, I guess. JPB2, Kyle, you are a tone man. What do you think the best boost for the Badlander 100 is? Badlander 100 best overdrive. Shoot. King in Yellow. Licklarum King in Yellow. Why? Because you have a 4-band EQ and you can boost the lows and low mids and you can dial the upper mids and the top end back, and it has a ton of output. So it will get that crunch channel into the super high gain territory, and it will keep it from sounding too thin in the process. So that's the one that I choose. Can a guitar sound not crunchy even if you change the pickups? I don't really know what you mean, Brent. I'm sorry. You're going to have to elaborate on that. Germano Moscani. I probably butchered that. I'm sorry, man. Hey, Kyle, I got a Helios Eclipse. That thing is ultra gainy, but do you think it can go head-to-head with the Ultra? It would be amazing if I did a 1-against-1. I will not be doing a comparison video of those two amplifiers just because I found comparison videos are just too specific to really work that well on the channel. I will say this, if you want a massive wall of sound amp with a ton of gain and a ton of flexibility, the Uber Ultra is where it's at. I filmed my video for that earlier this week, and I will be posting it sometime next week, so keep an eye out for that. The Eclipse, although it has a ton of gain, it is much more vintage Marshall voicing. It's a lot narrower, especially in the bass frequencies. So if you want a bigger, thicker, more modern sounding amplifier, go the Uber Ultra. If you just want that vintage Marshall upper mid grind with a lot more gain on tap, go with the Uber Ultra. Music Life with Art gave me a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate it. He says, no questions here. I'm just showing support as always and glad to see you throwing down the monster tones. Dude, thank you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Really appreciate it, guys. You guys have been awesome over the past couple of months while I kind of took some time away from the channel. So all of those of you stuck around and all the new people who are here too, everybody who supports the channel, I appreciate you guys more than you know. So thank you for the super chat. Let's hit that like button, guys. Hit that like button if you can, please. I would really appreciate it. That goes a long way in putting this video in front of other people. All right, so Fetus Ass Blast, that is a good name. What is a bias mod? Found a 5150 for a decent price, but he modded it with bias. So the bias on a stock 5150 cannot be changed. A bias mod makes it so that you can actually change the bias of the power tubes in order to get them to run within their range that they're supposed to run based on the tube manufacturer specifications. It will make the amp sound different. It'll make it sound thicker. It'll make it sound a little bit darker, possibly like squishier, depending on how hot the amp is biased. I personally like the 5150 amp without the bias better, but in a lot of cases, the bias mod is done so that you can run it at the stock bias, which is very cold from the factory, and I think that's a big part of the 5150 sound. So top 3 overdrives or boosts for a dark high gain amp. MXR M77 is definitely up there. Licklarum King in Yellow is definitely a solid choice. And I would also say the Electric Eye Mud Killer is another great one because the Mud Killer can definitely add a lot of upper mids, and it can also take a lot of that lower end tubbiness out of the amplifier. So those are my answers on that. James Gelber from Dean Guitars here. What's up, James? Love the channel. Do you think TC will ever recreate the legendary integrated preamp? It's possible, man. I mean, they should have done it a long time ago because the market has already passed them substantially. Like, there are so many TC integrated preamp clones or pedals based off the integrated preamp that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them to do it now, in my personal opinion, because there are a lot of companies that have improved upon the original design. But I'm sure if they wanted to do a one-for-one recreation, that people would buy it up just because it is the original. Your Mother Kills. Any more reviews on solid state amps? Just recently got a Randall RH200 G2 series and you're loving it. Yeah, man. I mean, I'll review any high gain amp. It just is a matter of time on the channel. I will be hiring an editor soon. So I'm going to be hiring an editor, which means the amount of content that I'm going to put out is definitely going to go up. They will primarily be editing my sponsored videos because I'll be able to afford to pay them. If a video is not sponsored, guys, I do not make a lot of money off of it, even if it performs well. Case in point, the video that I released on my birthday, that's got like 13,000 views. That video made me $67. So that's not very much considering that's a better than average performing video on my channel. So there's not a lot of money in just the AdSense when it comes to YouTube. So when a video is sponsored, yeah, it makes it easier for me to be able to pay an editor. So you will be seeing more content coming from me in the near future. Hi Kyle, greetings from Spain. Your channel is truly a source of thrash knowledge. Thank you for being here, man, and I appreciate the kind words. Appreciate the support. Gary Oleo Oreo. Now I want Oreos. Gary Oleo says, hi Kyle, how many cabinets you got? Last time I counted, it was like 108, maybe 110, but I'm working on selling a lot of those because I need the space back. Jay Lemus, one question. How can I get a decent boosted tone with a Governor and a 5153 EL34? I've never used the Governor, man, so I don't know what that pedal sounds like, unfortunately, but I would imagine that it's not that hard. The 5153 EL34 sounds incredible with most boosts, so trial and error, dude. G12T75 mixed with V30 is a great mix. Yeah, I agree with that. I actually have a video coming up very soon on a cabinet that I did that in, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. What happened to the Tone Daddy t-shirt idea? I don't know. Did I ever have that idea, or did somebody feed it to me? I thought that was just a joke now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I don't know. You guys will have to tell me how bad you actually want that. Guys, hit that like button if you could, please. We got 73 viewers. We only got 44 likes. Hit that like button. Come on. Help me out here. I would really appreciate it. Flux, you need to get another Randall KH103. I ended up getting a used one, and it is an amazing amp. Forget the sound like Metallica thing. It sounds great with my settings and has so many voicings. So some of you guys who have been watching the channel for a long time know that back in the corner over here, I used to have a KH103 that was sitting there for a while. I never got a chance to actually demo it before I got rid of it. So I absolutely would love to get another one on the channel. It's just a matter of finding one for a price that makes sense. I don't buy stuff for the channel unless I can get a really good price on it. So, yeah, because basically at the end of the day, I buy a lot of stuff just so I can demo it here on the channel and then move it along after I'm done with it. Kyle, thoughts on Dietzel Herbert Mark III? I'm having trouble deciding between this and the Bogner Uber Ultra. Kind of think Dietzel would be more versatile. I actually think it's the other way around, man. I think the Bogner Uber Ultra covers a lot more ground than the Dietzel does. The Dietzel has a clean channel, it's got a crunch channel, and it's got a high gain channel, but the crunch and the high gain channels sound very, very similar, and they are very Dietzel sounding. If you've ever played a Dietzel amp before, you'll know that they have a very particular sound. So your crunch channel isn't really going to do great crunch tones. But on the other side of that, the Bogner Uber Ultra can nail like anything from clean cleans all the way up to insane high gain distortion. And because of the ability, there's so many different switches and controls to fine tune the tone, you can cover a ton of ground. You can get vintage modded Marshall out of that amp if you want, if you really play around with the controls. So versatility is what you're going after. Uber Ultra all the way. Whew, man, I'm falling behind. I got to stop talking as much. Andrew Piercy says, I miss your amp comparison videos. Any plans on bringing them back? If I do, it'll be on the second channel. And if I do, it'll be once we get the editor into full swing. Those videos are fun for me to make, so I do want to still make them. But it also has to make sense. My main channel, I definitely think a lot about the content that I put up on the main channel, because when you have videos, if you have consistent videos that don't do well, that affects your overall growth on YouTube. Like, that can affect your spot in the algorithm. So I really focus on the content on my main channel and making sure that it's, you know, it's what you guys want to see and it's what I want to do, but also it's going to be good for the growth of the channel, because that's kind of what I have to focus on when I'm doing this full time. But that's why I made the second channel, so I can make the videos that I want to make and not have to worry about repercussions of them not performing well or people not watching them. So Yeah. All right, people are saying they're down for some bass content. Love that. Love that. Thank you guys for the support. I would love to do some more bass content because I love bass tones. I actually have a ton of basses. I've got some cool bass pedals. John Brown says, Kyle, how much cheese is in your fridge right now? And are you still going to do a speaker break-in test? I believe I have a couple blocks of aged white sharp cheddar that I got on sale at Aldi that I actually need to eat because it was my birthday this week. I've had people taking me out to dinner, and I'm also like I'm an exploiter of coupons and apps. So like I have a bunch of like restaurants that I'm a member of. Basically, you just sign up, and most of those restaurants send you free something or other on your birthday. So I've been taking advantage of that and eating for free as much as I can. But anyways, you guys don't care about cheese unless you do, and then we're homies. But am I still going to do a speaker break-in test? Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. I'm trying to get caught up on videos that I owe to companies, whether they be sponsored or things that I'm borrowing gear for, and I've been working on knocking those out, making good progress. But pretty soon I am going to do the speaker break-in test, as well as the brand new UK V30 versus brand new Chinese V30 video that I have coming up. Yeah, so I will be doing that for sure. I have not had the chance to watch your speaker break-in video yet, though. I need to do that. Everybody, again, subscribe to John Brown's channel. He's doing awesome stuff with speakers. Content is top tier. Derek Damager, what were your thoughts on the Mesa DC amp that I had? I thought it was cool. It was nothing special, though, in my personal opinion. It was very Mesa-y, and that it was a little tough to dial in. It was a little tough to get to the sweet spot. It was very picky about the cab, and kind of was just muddy. I love Mesa amps, but overall I find that most of them do not have very much clarity, and the DC definitely fell into that. I didn't get a chance to do a video before I sold it, so I will definitely be tracking another DC5 down here in the future. Again, if you guys want to support the channel and help me be able to fund things like those, affiliate links, Zounds, and Sweetwater go a long way in allowing me to be able to afford to pick this stuff up for the channel. So yeah, if you guys do hit those affiliate links and buy something, I really appreciate it. It actually does make a big difference. Music Life with Arthur Gonzalez says, bass stuff, drum stuff, guitar stuff, just do a little of it all to keep from getting burnt out. I wish that were the case, man, but it all really comes down to, you know, if I can get an editor, that gives me more time to actually film stuff, because editing takes up the vast majority of my time. Kyle, have you tried the Neural Amp Modeler plugin? Not yet, but people have been bugging me for over a year to do it. I will at some point. Opinions. Okay. Some of these I've already answered, guys. So just go back and watch the stream later if you'd like an answer to some of these questions. Since I recognize Carvin's cabs, any Carvin heads I'm interested in trying out. I've been trying to get a V3 forever, but they seem to be hard to come by at decent prices now. V3 or V3M would definitely be amps that I would love to try. But that's about it. I mean, most of their other amps aren't really high gain amps. So that's really the one that I have my eye on. G-Flex cabs, Gensbens, any thoughts? Never played one, believe it or not. I would like to track one down at some point. Wow, okay, I lost my spot, and you guys are asking me a ton of questions. If you want me to answer the questions, hit the like button. You gotta hit the like button. Come on, help me out, guys. Nope, not nearly enough people are hitting the like button on this damn thing. Got a dude from Pittsburgh in here. What's up? Pennsylvania, represent. I don't listen to Every Time I Die. Sorry, I'm not into them. So I really don't even know what their guitar tones sound like, to be honest. What's going on with Deadweld Audio? A lot of stuff is going on with Deadweld. If you really want all the details, I would head over to their Facebook page. Daniel made a post. Full-time jobs for him and Caitlin on top of they were having some health issues recently, so that's what's going on with them. But yeah, you can get more info. I'll leave that for them to tell you what's going on. Okay, Bata SSL. I have an LTD EX250 from 2000 and it sounds honky and vroomy. So it sounds like a car and not crunchy. It has Duncan design pickups in it. I'm a little worried if I get different pickups, it won't change the sound. Yeah, man, guitar buzzwords, really tough to, really tough to go off of that. I don't really know exactly what you mean, but more than likely, if you have a guitar that you don't like the sound of, changing the pickups, it might help, but in my opinion, I don't change the pickups out of guitars if I'm not quite happy with the sound, unless they're really close to how I want them to sound. But if it's way far off from how you want it to sound, usually changing the pickups just doesn't get it there. So, vintage sounds. Kyle, did you ever get to try a Hughes and Kettner Triumph? Not yet. Hoping to in the future. Kevin R. Hey, Kyle, what's your thoughts on the Seymour Duncan Custom 14 pickup that will come in the upcoming 01 FT from ESP's website? It sounds like a pickup you'd love. Yeah, the SH14 is actually the Duncan Custom 5. It's the Duncan Custom with an Alnico 5 magnet in it. Those pickups are very close to the Gibson Modern Classic Series. The 498T is very close to the SH14. 498T is my favorite pickup. I love Duncan pickups, so naturally, yeah, it's a pickup that I like, and I have one kicking around here somewhere. I just haven't installed it yet, but very good pickup. Stay curious, Kyle. Do you ever use cleans in your band? Just curious. Nope, we do not use cleans in any of the bands that I'm in. What's the best boost for a Mesa Mini in your opinion? It's really going to come down to personal preference, man. On that particular amp, I like things that are a little thicker sounding because the Mesa Mini rectifier is nowhere near as thick and full sounding as the big ones. OR15 or OR30 the OR15. I would suggest the OR15. I love the OR30 to death. It's actually one of my favorite orange amps, but you have to do a lot to it to get the really tight percussive sound out of it, and it's way more expensive. It's like $1,800 for one of those new. The OR15, you can grab one of those on the used market for $500, and it is well worth that $500. So OR15 definitely gets you the thrashy, chuggy thing out of the box much easier than the OR30. Someone says my stream is super laggy. I don't know what's going on with that. I've noticed on the side that it is a little goofy looking, but my stream connection says that it's excellent. So, and my camera, everything looks fine as far as I can tell on my end, so I'm not really sure what's causing that. Pat Trainer asks, best amp head for $1,000 to not do gigs but home studio recording Rev G20. Man, there's so many options these days for around that $1,000 mark, especially if you're buying used that have like the built-in recording stuff in it. You can get some stuff for even cheap. Like if you, I'm actually selling an Invective mini head that I got in a trade recently. I have an Invective mini head that is mine, that is actually a prototype that was sent to me from John over at Peavey. Shout out John Fields. Awesome, awesome guy. I almost burped in the middle of saying that. But the Invective even has like built-in recording stuff. Like to choose a best, it's going to be situationally dependent, but there are a lot of options for that $1,000 under mark that get you not only something that you can play through a speaker cabinet that's going to sound good, but going to get you recording options and stuff too. Oh no, come on. I keep losing my place. Like the chat keeps bumping itself down on me. Kyle, have I ever played the Stone Pony? No, I have not. Sorry. Kyle, are you still using the Quad Cortex? I'd love to send you some of my amp head captures. I really appreciate it, dude, but I only use the Quad Cortex to make my own captures. My bands haven't been playing live much recently, so that's why I haven't been using the Quad Cortex. But I do appreciate the offer. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm probably not going to plug it in anytime soon to mess around with tones. Desert Island Amp Sim plugin. STL Tones Amp Hub. STL Tones Amp Hub gives you a ton of variety, gives you a lot of options and a lot of really good sounding high gain amplifiers. So that would be my choice. Yeah, I could actually try to change out my USB capture card here. That might be part of the problem. Let me I have another one. Let me see if that fixes it real quick, guys. Hit that like button while I'm gone. All right, let's see if this is any better. Can you guys hear me? Give me just a second while I switch this over. Keep dropping those questions. We're getting a lot of good questions. I'm trying to knock them out as fast as I can. All right, so yeah, I should be popping back up on screen here any second, guys. Hopefully this fixes it. If not, I don't really know what's going on. My internet sucks, by the way. Spectrum can eat my ass with a spoon because they suck. They overcharge me. They inflate my bill like every month, and then they make my internet worse. So, anyways. All right, what are we doing? Yeah, it doesn't look like it fixed it, guys, so you guys will just have to deal with the bad video. I'm sorry, man. Sorry, fellas. Iron Rex says, hey, Kyle, thinking of buying an Angle Fireball 100 and Angle 412. Do you think it would be possible to play at bedroom levels and have a good sound? Sure, yeah. I think that amp does reasonably well at that. To make just about any amp work well at bedroom volumes, guys, get a 10-band EQ and put it in the loop of the amplifier, one that has a level, because you'll be able to pull the level way down, and you'll be able to increase the bass frequencies to try and move more air if that's what you're trying to achieve. That is what I did for a long, long time when I lived in an apartment. So that way you can have your big 100-watt amp for shows and gigs and practice and everything, but you can also pull the volume way down as well. Somebody says, get some Mojo V30s too, if you can. Not as shrill in my experience. Man, I love the V30. I love a lot of the iterations of the V30. I don't find them shrill. I find that they have exactly the frequencies that you need to cut through the mix in the right way. You know, everybody who's trying to like tame the V30 and stuff, I personally just don't think that makes for a good guitar tone in a mix a lot of the time. I've tried a lot of the V30, like the different or the alternatives to V30 speakers, and to me, they just don't have the same grind that I'm looking for. What are we going on next? Thoughts on BC Rich guitars and would I ever own one? BC Rich, not really my thing. Funny enough, though, I'm actually doing a video review for a Neil Moser guitar. Neil Moser worked with BC Rich as a like custom designer back in the 70s, and he helped design a lot of the cool electronics that those guitars had in the 80s. He's been building his own guitars for 20 years now or something like that, all handmade individually. So yeah, I'm doing a review on his. It looks very much like a BC Rich design, even though it's not. So very cool guitars. I just personally can't pull them off. Thoughts on the new Kerry King material? Personally, it wasn't bad, but it didn't do anything for me. I hate talking about these musicians that have achieved so much and criticizing their work. But I mean, for me personally, it just seemed like a really run-of-the-mill thrash song. Nothing really stood out to me. If you want another vanilla, Slayer meets Megadeth is kind of the vibe that I got song, then you'll probably love it. But for me, it was just kind of like, eh. V3, you have a full-size one. Unless you're willing to sell it to me for like $350, we won't have much to talk about. Sorry, man. What's on my gym playlist? I listen to podcasts, dude. I'm sorry. I don't really listen to music all that much. I generally listen to podcasts and try to get information while I'm doing something like working out or running. Luke Hedges says, no question, just thank you. I swear you make content specifically for me. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Dude, thank you. Thanks for the support. Glad that the content resonates with you, man. That means the world. Flux says, have you thought about doing some 2-amp cab stereo rigs, blending different combinations together would be fun? I do that all the time for myself, but I don't like, again, it comes down to content and what content I think is going to make sense for the main channel. So if I can find a way to work stuff like that in, I will. Yeah, hit the like button, guys. We got 81 viewers. We're doing good. Considering I'm not playing an amp and I'm just sitting here talking like an idiot, you guys are hanging out. So that's pretty good for a last minute stream. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Super chats are appreciated if you really have a question you want me to get to and elaborate on. But yeah, hitting that like button really helps me out. It's the YouTuber thing. I am required by law contractually to tell you to hit the like button. So is the EVH 5153 Stealth 50 watt worth the $750 difference between the PRS MT15? That's only for you to decide, man. Only you will be able to decide that. I personally like the EVH much better. I don't dislike the MT15. I think it's a great little amp, but it's pretty muddy. And the EVH is an amp that I would use above most others. So for me, it would be the EVH just based on that alone. Jean-Michael Gagnon. Hi, Kyle. Have you ever tried cabinet simulators like Red 7 Amp Central? Several YouTubers now use this type of product. What do I think about it? I use load boxes when I'm playing at home by myself when my fiance's home, just to, be able to play silently and help keep the volume down a little bit. But it's not something that I'm going to use for my channel unless the specific situation calls for it. But yeah. I lost my train of thought. I will definitely check stuff out like that if you guys want to see it. Like if you guys want to see me review those units, I'd be more than happy to look at them on the channel if those companies reach out. But yeah. As for me, just like using them to make my videos in general, no. I'm going to be an amp and cab guy till the day this channel dies. Maxi Raider, are you Monkey Raider? Did you change your name from Monkey Raider to Maxi Raider? Because if so, you left a really funny comment that me and a lot of people had a laugh at last week. Why don't we see the traditional Marshall stack of 2 412 cabinets anymore like in the 70s and 80s? What's the disadvantage of 2 cabs for 1 head? Well, for the most part, nobody's playing venues that require full stacks anymore. And the bands that are using full stacks are usually, I like to play loud. I love when bands play loud, but they're usually so unreasonably loud that you can't even tell what's going on, and it just doesn't make sense. Space constraints, like there's all sorts of stuff. You'll see a lot of live bands playing. I wonder if this will fix this. Hold on. I'm gonna close out of one of these pages because I got 2 different pages open. Let's see if this helps the stream at all. Yeah, man, I can't help the stream. I don't know what's going on. It tells me I've got an excellent connection, so. Yeah, back to the Marshall full stacks. That's what I was trying to get back to. I just think that modern times, they don't call for it. Back in the day, full stacks were used because PAs they didn't have enough power to project the guitar tone, and most guitar amps were not 100 watts. Like they were a lot smaller. So that's why guitar amps got bigger with higher wattage and with multiple cabinets, is so they could project the sound further into the audience. But that's not necessary anymore. Like PAs are wildly overpowered, if anything. So yeah, that's why you don't see full stacks anymore. Pizza Boy Roman, happy late birthday. Thank you, sir. What do you think about Seymour Duncan Polaris Axis pickup? Never tried it, never heard it, man. I'm sorry, I can't elaborate on that one. James Moses, you should make an amp tier list. Let us know what your favorite amps are in order from best to worst. Yeah, I could do that. I could do an amp tier list. For a while, everybody was doing tier lists, and I just didn't want to be yet another person who was doing the same thing. Like, I know my content isn't really original in any way, but I try to not do what everybody else is doing at the same time. So maybe now that fad seems to have died, I'll throw one up. This is the only guitar channel that I watch every upload. Dude, thank you. That means a lot. That truly does mean a lot to hear you guys say that stuff. It blows my mind. I have not had a chance to play the Laney Black Country. Sorry, man. I don't know anything about it, if I'm being honest. But my homie Jason, who works with Laney, maybe he can tell me. And if they think that the amp would be a good fit on the channel, maybe we can get one here to check out. How do we identify the good years of V30s? Man, it really is going to depend on who you ask. There's so much like internet lore around the V30 these days. I say listen to the V30 and then decide for yourself whether you think it sounds good or not. That's how you can figure it out. James, I have a Discord server. I do have a Discord server, and I think it's in the link of my videos. I honestly don't hang out there very much, but I know that a lot of people actually do chat in the Discord server quite often. So if it's not in the link or in the description of this video, then I'll make sure to go back and add it. So, yeah. I do have a Facebook group that I'm pretty active in called Kyle Bull's Home for Belligerent Amateur Musicians. So we've got like 2,800 members in there or something, and the community is really strong in there. I do not allow people to shit on other people's rigs or, basically it's just a really friendly community where people can discuss gear without people ripping into them like every other guitar gear page on the internet. That's specifically what I'm trying to cultivate, so... Stormlight Architect, is there a lot of tonal overlap between the Rev G50 and the 5153S 50 watt? I own the Stealth. Do I need the G50? I play same stuff as you. I already own a Captor X. I think they sound a lot different, and more importantly, they feel very, very different to play. The Rev has a very interesting feel, even though I hear a lot of people say it sounds digital, like on the top end, and there is something to that. Something on the top end of those amps is very like processed and refined sounding, which I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just a different sound. Whereas the 5150 is more raw, and the Rev feels a lot saggier to play, whereas the 5150 is usually pretty easy to play. So, I mean, they're definitely different enough that you could own both, and you're not going to have the same tone with both amps. Hey Kyle, what are a few dark boost pedals that you'd recommend? I don't know, man, because I don't really like dark boosts. I don't like dark pedals. When I'm boosting an amp, I want it to be brighter and tighter and grindier. So usually pedals that don't do that, they make their way out of my collection very quickly. Yo, Mike, I already answered your question on the 50 watt Stealth and the MT15. Have I hired an editor yet? No, but I'm pretty sure that I'm going to end up... I've talked to a few different people. I've got one more person to talk to next week. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to end up hiring the same editor that my homie Taylor Danley uses, because rate-wise, he was the most reasonable, and I see his work all the time because I watch Taylor Danley's channel all the time, and he does really good stuff. So more than likely, Daryl will be the new editor for some of the sponsored content on the channel. Again, I'm still going to be editing most of it, but I needed somebody to take some of the workload off of me so I could, free me up to do other stuff too. Joshua Fountain, you will be getting that exact demo that you want very, very soon. I will be doing a Badlander Mr. Scary demo sometime in the next week or two. I actually bought a regular Badlander 100 off of somebody who watches the channel, specifically so I could go back and forth between the Badlander 100 with the Scary mod and the one without it to really show you guys in real time how much of a difference it makes. Tyler, I did not talk about the amp clinic thing. I really do want to make it happen. It's going to take a lot of planning. My location being in Erie, not super ideal for something like that. So that's the thing that's really keeping me from doing it. I'm sure I could get sponsors on board and make it a really cool event, but yeah, I need to test the waters. I need to host a smaller event before I try and go and do something big and crazy. I need to get an 8 or 9 string. I don't think that I do. Sorry, man. There are plenty of guys who do the 8 and 9 string content on YouTube. I'm not. I can't even play anything interesting on a 7 string. So 8 and 9 string would be even worse. Duncan JB, custom or distortion. If I had to choose one of those pickups, probably the JB. JB is one of my favorite pickups. I love that, but it can sound bad in a lot of guitars too. So it really depends on the guitar. Derek, thank you for the kind words. Derek Lucier. Thank you, Tony. You're welcome, Rich. All right. I just got booted down the list again. Happy belated birthday from Bass Guitarist. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Gibson R9 and Jackson Custom Shop. Which is best? It's going to depend on your personal preferences and nothing else. Saw you were selling gear. Are you selling the MT100? I never owned an MT100. Sorry, dude. The one that I had on the channel was a loaner from PRS, so I did not get to keep that. Maxi Raider, you are Monkey Raider. Okay, man. All right. Draven Noir says baked beans. Hell yeah, brother. I love me some fucking baked beans. Everybody, check out Draven's channel. He's honestly throwing up a lot of the content that you guys ask me for, like amp comparisons and stuff. He does a lot of really good videos for one-to-one direct comparisons of certain amplifiers and stuff. So highly suggest going and checking his channel out because he's got a lot of top-tier amps that he's doing cool stuff with. Ancient Alien says, might the USB port, if you are using... No, it's definitely not the USB port. Mike Wagner says, howdy, Kyle. What's up, Mike? Everybody go like Wagner Amp Repair on Facebook, especially if you need a solid amp tech, because Mike is an amazing amp tech and he's got fair prices and he's just an awesome human being. So Wagner Amp Repair on Facebook. Do it now. You've tried a bunch of different amps out recently. What's been your favorite? That Sloan. The Sloan, honestly, man, that Sloan sounded insane. Like I'm very excited to get my own one of those sometime later this year because that amp sounded so good. Easily the Sloan. Man, the chat keeps jumping around on me. I'm such a rookie. Is it worth getting a Mesa single rectiverb head from the 490s metal at low volume? I had a multi-watt, but it was too loud and a bit absurd volume-wise. No, that single rectifier is not going to be any better in terms of volume. Again, get a 10-band EQ, put it in the loop, and lower the level on the 10-band EQ. That's the only way you're going to get a lot of these bigger amps to sound decent at lower volumes. Don't buy amps just because they have a good low volume sound. Like, there are ways around that where if you like the sound of the amp the way it is, you can tailor it a little bit and you don't have to go on an amp chase just to find something that sounds good at low volume. How do we feel about the changes to the Les Paul Studio? I actually don't know what's been changed with them, so you guys will have to elaborate in the comments. I'm not familiar with what has been done. Hypothetically thinking, if you were only to play 2 amps for the rest of your life, which ones would it be? For me, it would be probably the 6505 Plus or the 5152. And man, that's really tough. Probably my Splon Quick Rod, because that'll give me both of the high gain tones, the best of each world, in my opinion, of those individual high gain tones, and those are 2 amps that are always at the top of my favorite amp list. So those would be it. Is the 5153 Stealth... Bro, I've answered this question. Stop asking. Unless you want to give me a $20 super chat, and then I'll answer it again. I'm happy to take that money. How are my bands doing gigging much? Not at the moment. Human Animals writing stuff. Bushido Code still looking for a drummer. And none of my other bands are doing anything. Gary, I'm sorry, man. I answered a couple of your questions already. I got to get to some of these other people on here. You don't have to master 6 string to play 7, 8, or 9 strings. I always thought that argument was so stupid. Not that I'm saying you're dumb for saying that, but you don't have to master 6 strings before you can move on to a guitar with more strings. It all depends on your personal preference and the music that you want to play. And anybody who tries to tell you that you need to master a 6 string before you can move on to 7 or 8 string guitars, you know, they need to pull their head out of their ass because they're dumb people. Where are we at? Sorry, guys. I'm trying to scroll through and catch. Sorry, Scott. I don't do settings. We already talked about this. I don't really share my settings on amps because it's going to be highly dependent on your cab, what type of music you're playing, what guitar you're using. There's so many variables, so. If I decide to sell my Fireball 100, you will take it. I'll park it next to my VTM 120 so it's in good company. Not selling the Fireball 100, but I am selling an Inferno and an Angle Artist 50. So if you want either of those, be happy to sell them to you. Happy to have you here, man. Happy to have everybody on the live stream. James, I'm not sure what you're asking, man. Sorry, bud. I don't know what you're asking about adding the value to of anything. Aaron Derrick, quick question. Have an EVH 5153 6L6 50 watt. Manufacture date 2018, updated version. Recently, channels 1 and 2 have completely went out, but channel 3 still works fine. Thinking it's the amp. Well, yeah. I mean, what else would it be? It's not your guitar shutting off channels 1 and 2. Yeah, obviously you've got an issue with the amp. It could be a bad preamp tube because the way that the preamp is set up in those amplifiers, certain tubes affect channels 1 and 2, certain tubes affect channel 3. So it's very possible that you've got a bad preamp tube. So I would go in, take a good working preamp tube from another amp and put it in the 5153 preamp spots one by one. Swap it into spot 1, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, put the tube that was in there back and then move it over to spot 2. And more than likely, one of those tubes will probably help you out. Just Bluefish. I own a Gibson LP Standard. By the way, thank you very much for the super chat, guys. Super chats are very, very much appreciated. I own a Gibson LP Standard 50s. I thought I needed a thinner neck. Got a Gibson LP Studio with a slim taper neck. Barely noticed a difference. What is my experience? I mean, I'm not picky about necks, to be honest. So, like, the neck thing doesn't, I'm not the best person to tell you about that. But in my personal experience, a 60s slim taper neck should be substantially thinner than a standard 50s neck. But Gibson has, like, all sorts of different profiles. The 59 is slimmer than the 58. The 58 is usually their really fat neck. A slim taper 60s, though, that's like as thin as the Gibson necks get. So it's not going to get any thinner than that on the Gibson side of things. But yeah. Love the content. Thank you, man. Resington says, playing an acoustic guitar, prefer getting an electric is dumb too. Different instruments they are. Yeah, I've heard people say you have to learn on an acoustic before you can get an electric. No logic there whatsoever. Doesn't make any sense. If you're going to play electric guitar, you should learn to play an electric guitar. Can you play a 6505 mini head through a monitor speaker without an audio interface? If there is a power amp defeat on that, then yeah, you should be able to. But I mean, I've never personally done that, so I'm not 100% sure whether it has that functionality or not. Paul Natter says, Splawn, been meaning to ask where that is in your top amp list nowadays. Yeah, it's top 5, if not top 3. I will be doing a top 5 amp list soon. It is going to be in collaboration with Tonex because I'm going to be doing a pack with Tonex here sometime soon, an artist pack that'll be officially in collaboration with them. So Jay New York Hardcore says, recently purchased a Synergy Sin 1 Angle Savage combo. Have you ever tried the 2CP module, and would you recommend the 6505 one? Love the channel. Thought the 6505 module was really cool, and yes, I do have the 2CP module. Synergy sent me that one a while ago, and I really, really enjoyed it. Much like a Mark Series amplifier, tough to dial in, tough to find the sweet spots, but when you do, very, very worth it. So I highly recommend the 2CP module. It sounds very good. But with that, I think that I'm going to head out of here, guys. I've been here for an hour, and that's about the time that I was planning on getting out of here. Getting burritos for dinner tonight, and probably going to get some ice cream too. Celebrate my birthday a little bit late. And yeah, because I love food. I like food probably more than I like amps, if you guys can believe that. So I love celebrating with food. Any more questions, of course, guys, I've been thinking about doing a weekly live stream like this on Fridays on the second channel, taking the FAQ stuff over to the second channel. So if you guys would like to see that, please let me know in the comments of this video after it's published, not in the live chat because I won't be able to see that. Let me know in the comments of this video once it actually gets published. Would love to do something like that. I love answering your guys' questions and hanging out with you on a weekly basis. So I'm just basically looking for more excuses to do live streams and connect directly with you guys. Feel like that is a really strong way to build a connection between the audience and between myself, which is what I'm here to do in the first place. So Atomic Punk, actually, good thing that you mentioned that. I won't be inviting people on here to jam, but I am looking into doing a weekly podcast that'll be separate from the channel with my friend Jason. I did a live stream 2 weeks ago with my buddy Jason. He stopped by. We talked gear. Got a lot of good feedback on that, so I think that I'm actually going to turn that into a real podcast because I've been trying to set up some sort of podcast for a really long time, and it just hasn't worked out yet. So Jason and I thinking about calling it the Hardcore Breakdown, or not the Hardcore Breakdown, the Belligerent Breakdown, and having artists from hardcore bands come on and talk about their gear history and stuff like that. It'd be hardcore bands, it'd be punk bands, it'd be metal bands, so not going to limit it to one genre or anything. But Jason and I have a really good back and forth, so I think that that'll make it work. And I've got a lot of really good connections, as does he in the hardcore community. So I'm sure that we'd be able to get some really cool guests from some interesting bands on in order to talk about gear with you guys. So yeah, that's something that I'm working on. I'm going to try to get that together sometime here. I want it to be ready before it goes live. So I need to get a logo. I want to do an intro song. Want to see if I can get some sponsors on board. So if you work for a company and you would like to sponsor a weekly podcast about metal guitar gear featuring yours truly, please hit me up because that would be really, really cool. Yeah, I think that's going to be it, guys. I think that is going to be it for me today. It's 3:50. I'm getting hungry. We're going to get dinner soon. Enjoy the rest of this sunshine. Please, guys, let me know any and all thoughts, any and all questions that you guys have that I didn't get to. Leave them down below in the comments of this video once the video is over. I will do my best to get to them. Please hit that like button on your way out. It really, really does help. And yeah, love hanging with you guys. I really appreciate you guys giving me your time and your questions. That honestly means a lot, that you trust my opinion and that you want me to answer those questions. So yeah, man, I'm getting out of here. Somebody's talking about burritos and farting now. So yeah, it's definitely time to sign off. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Kyle here again. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.